Wingman here.
Hey, what's up you guys? It's the Foamsmith here. Today we're going to be working on a Wingman from Apex Legends. Some of the tools you're going to need are going to be a box cutting knife, a marker, a rotary tool, some contact cement, bobby pins, 6mm EVA foam, and of course your template. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to pin down your template onto the 6mm EVA foam. Once you pin it down, you're going to trace it with a marker. I use a gold marker for this because the foam is black, so it's easier to see. You're going to need to cut out 4 of these, so just repeat the same template onto the foam 4 times. Next, you're going to add contact cement. The 2 middle pieces are going to have contact cement on both sides, while the 2 outer pieces are only going to have contact cement on the inside. When applying the contact cement, you want to add thin layers of contact cement and wait for it to dry before sticking it together. Once the contact cement is dry, you're going to stick all 4 pieces together and you're going to press down on them on the table and make sure it's even and flat. You're going to sand the edges with your rotary tool and make sure it's nice and flat and even. Okay, so once you sand down all the edges and it's nice and flat and even, you're going to take your template and you're going to cut it along the lines. And this is because we're going to trace them onto the actual shape of the gun that we've already made. And we're going to cut the gun into pieces, sort of like a puzzle. Okay, so once you cut your template into pieces, you're going to pin the pieces down onto your foam gun, and then you're going to trace it with a marker. Once you trace it with the marker, you're going to take off the pieces, and you're going to cut along the lines with your knife. This is basically going to turn your foam gun shape into a big 3D puzzle. And the reason for this is because we're going to sand the edges, bevel the edges, better said, and once you bevel the edges, we're going to glue everything back together, and this is just going to give the gun a more realistic feel and look, because it's going to actually look like it's made out of a bunch of different parts and not just one big chunk of foam. When beveling the edges, you want to make sure you get a nice even bevel across each edge. And once you bevel all the edges, you're going to apply your contact cement, and we're going to glue all the pieces back together so that it starts looking like a gun again. Okay, so once the gun is glued, we're going to make the cylinder shape on each side of the wingman. And by doing that, we're just going to take the shape that's in the template, which is resembling the cylinder on the Wingman, and we're going to trace that onto EVA foam, and then we're going to take the piece of foam and we're going to cut into 3 pieces at an angle. That way when we glue it back together, it's going to have sort of like a octagon type shape, which is basically the same shape that the Wingman has on the cylinders. And it's going to be cut up in a few more pieces. It's not just 3 pieces, but just follow along with the video and you'll see. Okay, if you notice when I'm cutting up the cylinders into pieces, near the back end I draw a line straight across. We're going to cut that at an angle. It's basically the same thing we did on the sides, but it's going to be reversed, like it's going to be on that line. So when you glue it together, it's going to sort of decline towards the back and give it like that gun barrel type shape that you want. Once all your angles are cut and all the pieces have the contact cement on it, just wait for the contact cement to dry and glue it all together. Once you have your piece glued together, you're just going to glue it on to the actual gun, and it's easy to know where you're going to glue it because you already have that shape on your gun. So once you do this, just repeat the process all over again on the other side. Everything on the Wingman is mirrored on the other side, so it's everything you do on one side, it's going to be the same thing on the other. So now if you notice, I'm going to pin down part of the templates onto the gun again. And these templates, if you notice, they have these grooves drawn on them. And I'm just pinning them down to mark where each groove goes, because later on I'm going to use my wood burner to make those grooves on each side. Okay, so once you mark down where the grooves go, this is where the fun part comes. But this is also like one of the tedious parts, because you really have to pay attention to detail here. And this is really all going to be on you, because it depends on how well you pay attention to detail. You're going to look at your Wingman reference, and all the little details that you see that you can mark on your gun, you're going to draw them onto your gun. And once you do that, you're going to use a wood burner and you're going to scorch like right over the lines that you drew. So this is all going to depend on how well you see detail. And don't worry if it doesn't turn out right at first. Just keep practicing until you do, because it takes time to notice all the details and props. Okay, so now that you drew all the details on your gun, just trace over it again with the wood burning tool. Make sure to take your time, be patient, because the wood burner will melt through your foam very easily, so it's easy to mess it up. So just be careful and take your time, and wear a mask. Also, try not to burn yourself. Again, everything that you draw on one side, you're going to redraw on the other side. Like I said, everything on one side of the Wingman is mirrored on the other side, so it's pretty easy to remember. Just look at, and if you forget, just look at the other side of the Wingman, the one that you already drew, just in case you forget, but it should be pretty easy. So once you finish doing all that, you're going to cut out a little triangle for the trigger. You're going to use your wood burn and make a little detail in the middle of it. At least that's what the Wingman in the picture has, so I just made it. You don't have to if you don't want to. And then we're going to cut out two little ovals that go on the side of the Wingman. And we're going to just glue all three of these pieces onto the gun. And once you do that, you're basically done. Okay, so once you finish that, you're done. You're basically done with the foam wingman. This is part 1. Part 2 will be on how to paint it and add the final details to the gun. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell because I will be posting up more tutorials. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.